he's still got this warehouse full of dildos and he doesn't know what to do with it. And he said, if you want to get a job with me, solve that problem. Any suggestions? Hello and welcome. Budri Gamawara here from the Gadigal lands in Sydney. It's time for Startup 360. I'm Simon Thomsen, and for the very last time...
I'm Kayla Medica.
I'm not happy about this. I am devastated. I am gutted. You're leaving me.
I'm wrapping up on the show.
Do you know the Mental as Anything song, If You Leave Me, Can I Come Too?
I'm one of those people who, like, if you play the song, I'll say whether I know it or not, but I don't know the song titles.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And you can play it and think of me.
Okay.
It's been amazing. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for launching Startup 360 with me. But you're a busy girl. So
I am busy.
I understand that you're flying off to sort of billion-dollar jobs and all of those sorts of things.
I wish. Someone give me $1 billion, please.
You never know. The royalties may flow through from this show as it gets monetized properly on YouTube. You can work on the SEO.
The AdSense, yeah, for all my appearances.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we talk about who we've got on today's show?
So our first guest today is Doone Roisin. She's the founder of the Female Startup Club. She has an amazing newsletter, which is where I know her from and have been a fan for a long time. So very excited to have her on.
Yes, we wanted to get someone you always wanted to meet. I can't believe you haven't met the hype girl
I know.
in all of this time. Do you have her photo of, I think she's
I'm not
5
a
or
stalker.
6 year old, printed out and stuck up on the wall?
That sounds like...
The one in her newsletter.
Oh, I was going to say, that sounds very serial killer behaviour to have someone's childhood photo printed out when I've never met them.
She's very nice with a bottle of Chianti.
Not sure how I feel about this.
Look, before we go any further, I should say that the serious part of the show, important part of the show, Startup 360 is supported by Vanta, helping startups unlock market opportunities through automated compliance, which is a good thing, automating it.
Yeah, and being compliant for that.
Amazing second guest today, one I've always wanted on this show to talk to. It's you.
It's me.
You're going to do 10X today,
Yes.
and we're going to have fun, and Doone's going to hang around and be you. But I am so devastated. I have news. I'm leaving too.
For how long, though?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm actually taking a holiday, which I haven't done forever, which is going to be great. I'm off to Sri Lanka with my wife, Sally, and we're going to spend 2 weeks going a block around the Oval everywhere. AJ from Pinstripe, the son of a Koch, is going to be him doing the show.
I'm just on a roll today with your making me laugh.
Well, this is my last chance. If I don't do it now,
okay.
It's never going to happen again.
Pulling out all the stops.
And then after that, the amazing friend of the show, Magella Campbell, who we had on very early on, is going to come and join me in that chair as from Fishburners. And she'll be doing Startup 360 with me when I get back. So
She's going to be great at it.
I'm thrilled about that, delighted that Magella could do that. But you have just been the best. Now, let's start with the highlights of the week. Sunrise, did you have a great time?
Yes, I was there both days. First day, I was only there for 40 minutes, but I already ran into so many people that I knew and hadn't seen in person in ages, so that was just really nice.
Well, we do record on a Wednesday, so we did this and we went straight out there, and it was going off, wasn't it? Do you reckon... I always think about events like this where everyone sweats over the program, gets some amazing guests in, and basically 60 to 70% of the audience is standing outside talking to each other most of the time.
Yeah, that is the funny thing about it, is that the majority of people I ran into weren't even inside of Carriageworks. They were just like on the street.
Did you go and see any of the presenters, any of the discussions?
So I only saw maybe like 3 talks. My favourite one was the opening keynote of day 2, which was the head chef of Attica.
Ben Shuri.
Amazing story. I loved that he opened with "I'm a crier" and then he did cry on stage, and it was one of those talks where you're like totally sucked in and like fully immersed in it. He was great.
I've known Ben for a long time in my past life as a restaurant critic. Restaurant critics are not his favourite people nowadays, as he talks about it in his new book, Uses for Obsession, is the book he's written about his life, and he takes a bit of a swing at critics. Fine with that. But I've had some amazing meals there, and I called him a narrative cook because everything he did has a story behind it. And he grew up in New Zealand where he almost died from drowning, and he did a dish inspired by that.
Oh, wow.
Yep. He did another dish called a potato cooked in the earth that grew in, and then he did dishes about bees because he was worried about pollination, and always amazing. And he told the best story about how Bruce Dunleavy, who was one of the early investors in eBay, is his mentor. Ate in the restaurant, loved it. They became friends. Bruce brought him a book, and he emailed him to say thank you. That story that he was talking about at the end. And then the amazing part was Bruce shared the story of when he was looking at investing in eBay, didn't think it was the right fit, didn't work, wasn't going to go there. They were walking out when he bumped into the postman delivering bags of mail in the elevator, asked him what they were, and the postman explained that he brings up 2-3 bags full of checks to eBay every day. And at that point, it's like, right, we're in. We're going to back eBay. So the lesson there is talk to the mailroom if you want to know what's going on.
I thought the real lesson was like compliment the chef and.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's true. Check the email room. Doesn't quite work nowadays, does it? Check the EFTs is probably quite important as well. But that was an amazing, fun startup story. But yeah, he was great. Of course, the other one that everyone else was talking to me about after lunch on Thursday was Tim Doyle from Eucalyptus. Always, he puts it out there. And he certainly put it out there when Samantha Wong asked him how to get a job at Eucalyptus. And his answer was, solve my dildo problem.
Yeah.
He's got a warehouse full of them that he promised to recycle, except that he can't. And what happened there was one of the early products was Normal, which was sex toys or sex aids and vibrators and other bits and pieces. And they did a trade-in deal. So, send us your used dildo and we'll send you a brand new vibrator. Now, that company is out of the fold nowadays. Lucy Walk runs it, of course. But he's still got this warehouse full of dildos and he doesn't know what to do with it. And he said, if you want to get a job with me, solve that problem. Any suggestions?
My suggestion is don't get a job with Tim Doyle.
Okay. Because you know where you'd like to put the dildos.
No, I just think he's the very embodiment of toxic hustle culture, and his talk was very dismissive culturally. So he just kept talking about it's really not that hard. What are people complaining about? And I think if you want to do really hard, impactful work and your boss is telling you it's not that hard, what's the problem? It's not the ingredients for a good tasting cake. Let's put it that way.
Interesting, because a lot of people were inspired by him. They thought he was good, and he kind of brings that Tony Robbins across the hot coals vibe.
I also think Tony Robbins is a scam, so that is pretty on par for my appraisal of that.
All right, we'll move on from that one. Liam Fuller, who we had in the show a couple of weeks ago, remember? Young Irish guy, 17 years of age and half Australian. He was out here. There are VCs who watch our show.
Oh,
Not only do they watch our show, they watch people like Liam and they go, oh my God, shut up and take my money. Apparently he has become one of the hottest rounds in Australia, I've been told. And there have been some very leading VCs who've been whining and dining him. And I think he's walked away with a fair swag of cash.
Very nice. Any VCs watching this? I've got empty pockets that you can fill.
Well, I did see a few VCs last night. I went to the 10th anniversary of Pledge 1%. Now, this is an organisation that was founded in part by Scott Farquhar from Atlassian about a decade ago. It's a global organisation. I think there are now about 19,000 companies around the world involved, including 1,800 in Australia, a lot of startups. The Atlassian Foundation has been involved from day one. And Scott today has just become the chair of Pledge 1%. I do think it does amazing things. And what it encourages startups and other companies to do is give away 1% of whatever works best for them. Employee time, equity in the business, profits, a range of things. You shape it to make it work the way you want it to work. And it's a really good, clever program. I wrote about them in a series of stories about 5 years ago. I'm going to drag them up and republish them for the 10th anniversary. So there's a little bit of content while I'm on holidays. But, you know, it's just amazing. Canva's been involved, and the conversation I remember having with them at the time was how they engage everyone in the workforce to decide what their priorities are. So great program, great stuff. What do you do for charity? Do you have a thing?
I donate blood.
Yeah.
So I also think if you need a great excuse for like an early Friday leave after you donate blood, you're like tired and a bit woozy. So it's like, oh, I can't work for the rest of the day. I donated blood. And then everyone is like, oh, good job. Take the day off. So that's my like tip for getting out of work.
I actually only just started doing it again recently. Sydney Swans inspired me. They played around where blood donorship was an important thing. And so I thought, right, I'm going to do it. Because for about 30 years, I was banned from doing it because I lived in England when
you got mad cow
bovines. Yeah. Well, I've always been a bad cow, but you know, the fact that BCE was an issue in England when I was living there in the late 80s, early 90s meant I couldn't. You know, I went through the whole thing, and then I told them I had malaria along the way, and they kept going, "Oh, geez, do we really want what you've got?" But it was all great, and I did plasma, which is useful too. So you can do that, and you can give plasma every fortnight. So it's not like the whole vampire sort of, what's that teenage romance Dracula show? Twilight. That's the one that everyone loves, and he was really cute.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Twilight.
Yeah, that one.
But yeah, so if you have so like O negative is the best blood type to donate. If you don't have O negative, and that's been a reason why you haven't donated, is you think like your blood's not that useful. Different blood types and plasma types are good for different purposes. So even if your blood type is not high demand for full blood, it could be high demand for plasma. So definitely like look into it.
And of course on Wednesday afternoons I go to my favourite organisation, Addy Road, near where I live in Marrickville, and I cook dinner. I help cook dinner with a team of volunteers for about 100 people, and we feed them for free. Set up big tables, have a lovely night. It's really fun. Now, quick thank you for you.
Oh.
This is for you. Bollinger. And it's kind of appropriate because Lily Bollinger, who ran the company after the death of her husband in 1941 during the war, was CEO of the business at the time. She was like an OG marketer. She took champagne to the next level. The Champagne House itself is 200 years old in 2029.
Very cool.
But
thank you.
She took off on a ship to the US and popularised champagne over there. Queen Vic gave Bollinger the stamp of approval back when she was in her reign. But she came up with one of the best marketing lines for the product ever. Have you heard this one? I drink champagne when I'm happy and when I'm sad.
I just read that on the back.
Sometimes I drink, there you go, they stick it on there. Sometimes I drink it when I'm alone. When I have company, I consider it obligatory. I trifle with it if I'm not hungry, and I drink it when I am. Otherwise, I never touch it unless I'm thirsty.
So it's funny you bring up alcohol and marketing, because last week in the Medica newsletter, I did a roundup of old ads. And one of the ones I brought out was a Guinness campaign that was just like raging alcoholism in such a positive light from like the 20s or something. And it was like some of the slogans were like, opening time is Guinness time. Like it was just wild. And
On point.
I was like, this would never fly today.
It's true though. Yeah. Oh, look, there's been a few of those over the years. Some of them slightly questionable, especially around morality and sexuality. But yes, alcohol advertising is a separate category. But Lily Bollinger was, she died in 1977, unfortunately childless. But the family nieces and nephews continued on. And it's one of the great champagne houses of the world. Of course, James Bond loved it as well.
Oh, of course.
And it's kind of with love for my wife, Sally, too, because she doesn't know I took it out of her stash. But I will replace it, I promise, darling.
I've got stolen goods as my gift.
So when you're happy, when you're sad, I want you to drink that.
Not when I'm alone?
You can do that as well, or if you're thirsty.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Shall we do our first guest and your final guest?
My final
We'll get Doone in for a chat. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, and welcome to our first guest, Doone Roisin. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So glad you're here. Tell us all about you.
Oh my God, where do we start? That's a very
from the
open-ended question.
So we only get one
Photos.
question in today.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with, why do you have a childhood photo at the end of your newsletter?
It's so funny because actually, like, so many people bring up this photo and I always forget about it, but someone brought it up recently. I was talking at the InStyle Beauty Summit and they also like brought up this photo and I was like, wow, where's this photo? And I forgot it's on my emails and in the newsletter and all this kind of thing. But the photo is basically a picture of me when I was 3. And I'm wearing every kind of layer of pink and sparkles and bum bags and pearls that you can imagine. And I think it's just a good summary of who I am, a maximalist at my core.
And then you annotate it, so it's got all the notes on there.
It's got all the notes
well.
on there, you know.
We'll try and slip
it's modern.
We'll slip it into the YouTube. But yes, for people who are listening, it is a cute photo. And I don't know why, but every time I get your newsletter, I stop and look at it again too. It is just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So we've
I'm
talked
cute.
about
What can I say?
The photo is in a newsletter. So tell us about the newsletter.
The newsletter, Female Startup Club's newsletter. Yeah, we are a resource for professional women who are either starting a business, starting a side hustle, are currently all of the above, in the 9 to 5, all of the above. And we send out 3 times a week a kind of opportunist newsletter where you can access different kinds of grants and different kinds of job opportunities for, you know, suitable to women who might be working mums or wanting to work remote so they can manage their business on the side as well. We include lots of kind of what we call pop tops, popular topics, things going on. You know, it's just like a little bit of dopamine hit in your inbox that you can get something good out of every time you open it.
Well, you do call yourself your hype girl. So what does hype mean to you?
Hype girl. I mean, I just love being the cheerleader. I think like I have been so lucky in my life to have both men and women really hype me along the way, especially in a time when, you know, maybe I've needed it or kind of really valued someone's kind of cheerleading moments. And so I really love to do that back, and I've really woven that into everything we do at Female Startup Club and also at Groupie, which is the company we launched last year during Techstars. And so I appreciate the hype when people give it to me, and I'm just putting it back out there in the world.
The love you get is equal to the love you make.
Yeah, I
The
imagine.
Beatles line.
That's nice.
I imagine you get a lot of women who reach out to you and say thank you and like it's been inspiring and that kind of thing. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for women starting a side hustle or starting a business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's less the practical. You know, there are so many tools, there's so much technology, there's so much good information online that you can access no matter what you want to do in what industry. I think it's more of the internal self-talk that can stop you from doing something. So even for me, if I think about my own kind of experience and my own kind of inner dialogue, I have to really blend ignoring what my internal dialogue is saying and pushing it to the side and just using action as a way to move forward and kind of like keep on going. And I think that oftentimes when that internal dialogue can get loud and noisy and tell you, you know, you're not good enough or you're not smart enough or you're whatever it is that it's saying, that can stop people from just starting and taking that first step because it becomes too overwhelming and too kind of, it seems too massive, or you seem too afraid of that kind of what might go wrong instead of thinking what might go right. And so I think it's less, about the practical and more about the internal emotional side of it. And it's a bit fucking annoying, to be honest. Like I still experience it personally, but that I think is a bit of a blocker. And it's a tough one.
Which I'm going to bring up something you were talking about, I think about 12 months ago in one of the newsletters, where you say, when we crunch the numbers, female founders tend to outperform males in a number of areas. Think higher revenues, stronger return on investment. But I'm not just talking about the workplace. There's multiple studies which support the idea that female founders are more likely to prioritise corporate social responsibility and sustainability over their male counterparts. How important, if you want to succeed as a bloke, is it to have some women around you helping to make you look half decent?
I mean, listen, we can be presented with logic on paper, in data and facts all day, and,
This does my head
still
in,
not take it.
Yep.
But, you know, when you're working together and when you're working united with different perspectives and different kind of views on the world and different walks of life and different ages and people from all corners of the world, you perform better. Businesses perform better. Things get done in a different way. So it's very important, I would say. But sadly, I think it's just so mind-boggling why it isn't the norm.
Why we ignore the data on this particular issue.
Yeah, why we ignore the data and the logic. It's hard to
You did say that you get direct confirmation of what's going on. What do other women say to you about what really gives them the shits?
I think one of the biggest frustrations that I hear in the DMs and in emails is kind of that lack of access to funding. Mm-hmm. And again, you know, we know the data, we know all of this, we know it's on repeat all the time. Mm-hmm. And it is a frustration that we still don't really have a clear answer to, because I really see that frustration as being kind of like, you know, we're trying to be part of this system that essentially isn't built for us and isn't changing to factor us in, really, when we think about the kind of VC community and the investment community. As much as people do like to shout and say how much they're doing and all this kind of thing, the data, again, it isn't lying. It's not changing. And so I think that the biggest frustration comes around money and that kind of financial support or that access to more opportunity for the potential, not kind of the way that I guess women are treated in the ecosystem, where you're kind of made to be more, what's the term that I'm trying to think of here? You're trying to prove yourself versus like show the potential, which usually male counterparts are more kind of given. And so I think that it's just this like ongoing frustration that I hear, but then I'm also conscious of myself. I'm like, why do we even want to be in that ecosystem? Why do we even want to be in that? If it's not built for us and it's not changing, we need to build new solutions. We need to find alternative ways or alternative sources of capital to move forward. But it's such this huge, complex, systemic issue that it's just you go around and around and around in a loop.
Yeah, I love that.
But that is the main frustration I would hear.
Instead of forcing your way into a space that's not welcoming, create your own welcoming space.
Totally. I'm like, hey, if someone's not banging your door down wanting to have you involved, why would you ever want to give them the opportunity to be involved in your business, which is probably going to outperform many others anyway?
Because you are worthy in the end. That's the thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about going to Techstars and what the decision was for you that made you decide to join a program.
Yeah, oh my God, Techstars. It feels like such a long time ago, but it was really just, you know, back around the corner. What made me decide to want to go into Techstars? I really wanted to take what I'd built with Female Startup Club and figure out what was next. So one of the challenges that I'd been facing was kind of not really knowing the direction to go in. I'd been building products and businesses by myself for the last 8 years. So I was kind of wanting to have a little bit more structure and kind of brain power, I guess, like that collective input. So going into Techstars was really a clear goal of coming out the other side of the 3-month program and knowing the roadmap forward. And so during that time, we did a lot in 3 months. It's pretty full on, but we came out the other side launching Groupie. And Groupie is a really simple tool that helps busy professionals who are in demand and get tapped on the shoulder for brain power and advice and insights and pick your brain coffees to be able to monetize that brain power and advice through your WhatsApp and your group chats, kind of being in a place where you already hang out, you're already texting, without kind of having to add extra phone calls, extra time into your calendar. Extra coffees. Or the kind of playing the content game and having to build an audience and then monetize. And again, this was pulling on insights and kind of my own personal challenges with Female Startup Club and kind of the overwhelm that can happen with people asking you for time, advice and coffees. And I was trying to solve that for myself, and then through that process really realized that so many people in my network, especially when you hit that kind of level in your career, which I'm sure you both experience this every single day, of kind of the people who want access to your time. And we know when we look at data and research that the shift in media is moving, away from content, which has become very democratized with all of the AI tools and things that we have access to for free at our fingertips. It's moving away from just content and broadcasting to deeper access to the voices that we trust and the people that we actually want access to, but in a way that's affordable and in a way that is an equal value exchange. So we launched Groupie to help kind of bridge that gap and create a new passive income stream for busy professionals to be able to monetize those taps on the shoulder in a really simple, seamless way. And it was just, textiles was so amazing. I went in there really kind of, it never even crossed my mind that it would be like hard or anything. I just went in there being like, this is going to be great. Professional moment. Cool. Like, let's go do some stuff. It was so hard. Like, I can't even tell you, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I really saw textiles as like this professional moment, but it was so personally transformative at the same time. I learned so much about myself, about my brain, about how I work, about things that I'm good at, things that I'm really not good at. And it was just a like really full on time trying to manage Female Startup Club while also like launching this new company, while also managing like as an ADHD brain, coming into an office and having lights everywhere all the time, like 20 something people talking, noise, like all the things that I'm not used to in a corporate environment. And it was full on. It was really cool. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does.
But you'd tell anyone else to do it because applications are open. I know Kirsten Hunter's now gone to virtual, and Christy Jenkins, who's an amazing woman too, incredible athlete, but investor, really smart, is now running it. So she's going to be taking the next cohort through later this year.
Yes, I mean, if you can nab one of those 12 spots that are open, I would absolutely recommend it. I think they've recently changed the terms, but they offer investment. They offer, obviously, the program where you, especially if you are going to raise in the future and you're going to go really down that kind of venture pathway, they offer access to investors, incredible mentors, different opportunities when you're looking to expand overseas and go international. It's a really good program. There's a lot on. There's a lot to manage, but it's good. I would highly recommend it.
Now, picking up on the theme that we were just discussing with Groupie and everything, it's kind of like mentoring. How do you decide which is the bits you give away for free and which are the parts of your knowledge and expertise that you value and you make other people understand that they need to value it too? Because, of course, part of this clamouring is that everyone does want something for free that is quite valuable.
Yeah, I think like you'll always have two people that tap you on the shoulder, someone that will never pay and someone who really does understand that value in your insights and your experience and your knowledge. And I'll give you a really good example. My naturopath, I work with her. I've worked with her for 2 years. She charges a few $100s an hour. She's really limited to the amount of clients she can take on. And I have so many questions outside of that hour call. I need to know what kind of protein I should take. I need to know this and that and this and that. And so I have a lot of text messages coming to her often. And so if you think about me then times by all of her clients, but then my friends who want to see her, her family members, her friends, she has like an overwhelm of being bombarded of people who do value and really trust her expertise and what she's doing, but probably don't need to book a multi-$100 call to get, an answer about protein. And so for her, being able to have a group chat where she can put her clients into, where they can also learn from each other. And if you think about something like Reddit, when you're in a great Reddit and someone's being like, hey, here's my portfolio or whatever, like what should I do? And you're able to see that kind of crowdsourced information and thoughts from other people. If you put that in the context of a group chat where you might not have even thought to ask what protein powder that you should be having, and then you're seeing someone else who's also a client, you're like-minded, you're both seeing this expert and in-demand professional being able to provide that answer, and then you're also benefiting from that. It's just such a no-brainer that I would be subscribing to her group chat and subscribing to have that ongoing access to her for the small questions and those small insights. And then for her, that creates, another passive income stream for people who might not necessarily be clients, but they might be coming into her pipeline and wanting to get into her access a little bit more before they commit to becoming a client. It loosens kind of that resentment that you can start building when you're just constantly like giving and not receiving an equal value exchange. And so even from I think an energetic perspective of, even if it's a low ticket, $30 a month versus like free, even if it's low ticket, you have that feeling of like, okay, well, I am valued because someone has put their credit card here and they are willing to pay for my time, even if it's $30 a month in a group chat. You know what I mean?
But that adds up if you've got 10, 20, 30 in the hive mind as part of a revenue stream. Really clever idea. I like that one. Otherwise, you're billing as a naturopath like a lawyer in 6-minute blocks.
Exactly, and it becomes, we've all got such limited time. The more you kind of advance in your career, the more in demand you get, the more limited that time really becomes, and the more like not affordable it becomes for everyone else to be able to access you. So if you have these small, simple ways where people can connect with you if they want, they can pay $30 a month, or maybe you're charging $200 a month to have access to that, and it's just 5 people in a group chat that's super high value, but you're like, yep, I will never leave this group chat. It's really, I think, a great way for people to add that side passive income, including myself.
Who's someone that you want to tap on the shoulder and ask a question to?
I mean, my naturopath. I honestly have to put my messages aside and not hassle her. Who else? I'm really interested in I guess in that kind of same realm, but people who are in the kind of health industry. So it might be like a brain doctor or someone who's kind of doing really interesting research around whatever the topic is, but that kind of health related access is something that I'm particularly interested in. Definitely also around the ADHD kind of neurodivergent space. I'd love to be in a group chat with someone who is, world-class expert at what they do, and they're able to kind of share those quick little insights or things that would help you just on a daily basis with your own kind of thinking patterns, your own, knowing more about how your brain works, basically.
We've had some amazing guests on here who do have ADHD, and we've talked about it. How do you integrate it into the way you operate? Because, some people have the view that it's a superpower, others have a different take, and of course everyone's experience is individual. What's it like for Doone?
Yeah, I definitely see it as a superpower, and I use it to my advantage and then just accept when it's not working to my advantage. I was diagnosed late in life at 35, or maybe 34 or 35. And so once I actually got that diagnosis, honestly, I feel like my life just changed so much. I learned so much about how I operate and why things can be such a struggle for me, or why things were like a superpower for me. And so I integrate it by just being, I guess, really aware of how my brain works now that I've learnt more and done more research and gone through things like Techstars. If, for example, if I was feeling a bit off or something like that, and that day I'm only able to give 1% to a task, that's still 100% that I was able to give that day, and kind of being like okay with that and just being like, great, tomorrow I'm going to do more, I'm going to do better, versus like the guilt and the kind of like push through mentality when you're just not able to give your best work and kind of like force it. I just don't do that as much anymore. I'm just more like lean into where my energy is flowing and doing the things that I'm really good at, and really being more of a master of delegating what I'm not good at, so that I'm not trying to push through it.
Intuitive.
Yes, intuitive, I would say.
One last question from me. We spoke earlier about how a lot of people just need to take the first step and the momentum will carry them. What would you say is a really conducive first step that might not be overwhelming but is just enough?
So let me try and be quite practical. I think that when you have a goal and you've established what the goal is and what you're trying to work towards, because, there could be so many first steps, but it's really about reverse engineering, like what is the smallest thing that you could do today, even if it's literally sending an email to get the ball rolling on something, or inquiring about something, or the tiniest thing that you could do, just doing that, literally just that, and then be like, great, did it.
I
Tick
put
it off
get
the
out
list.
of bed on my list, and I generally succeed. Generally.
And then every day stacking those tiny actions, because any goal that you're working towards is just a series of a million tiny actions. And so however many you can get through, don't even think about, like, you set the goal, you reverse engineer how it's going to look to get there, like the roadmap, I guess, or the product roadmap. And then you're literally being like, okay, what is the first tiny, tiny, tiny little thing that I could do today? And just start doing those things, and try to block out the noise that gets you to jump to step 100, because you're not there yet. Just put that aside. You already know it's on the list. You've written it down. It's like, it's there. You're going to get there. But you've just got to kind of keep chipping away. And I think when you just chip away, and you're kind of like trying to make sure that you're on track for the goal, but you're not just thinking about step 100 when you don't need to. That's a future you thing. So yeah, I would say it's like that. And it's really easier said than done, but trying to find a way to practice ignoring the inner negative self-dialogue that you can face. We all have that like internal voice, whether it's positive or negative. For me, it's usually negative. And trying to be like, okay, that's my mind. That doesn't mean that's my actions. That doesn't mean how I'm presenting to the world. So I just need to like try and push that aside and continue on. And, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, and that's okay too. So just keep on going.
Doone Roisin, thank you so much for joining us on Startup 360. But would you like to flip the tables and come back and interview our 10X guest, Kayla Medica?
I would. I feel very honoured about this.
We're going to do a lot of steps in a minute. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Startup 360. You're with Simon Thomsen and special guest co-host for the second half of the show, Doone Roisin from Female Startup Club, and our departing co-host, who've turned the tables on, Kayla Medica.
That's me.
Kayla, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So great that you can do this, because I did surprise you, I know that. Tell me, to start, what led you down the marketing path?
This is a story I tell all the time, so I'm going to rapid fire this. Mm-hmm. As part of compulsory education in Australia, my high school did Japanese as the foreign language. I did that, thought it was fun, picked it as an elective, got to university, didn't know what I wanted to do, thought I'll just continue with this because it's fun until I figure it out. Never figured it out. Got a degree in it. Got a second degree in linguistics. Worked as a translator, but I worked translating marketing materials from Japanese into English. Japanese marketing is very different from Western marketing. So slowly over the years that I was doing that, my work went from translating word to word to being like, this isn't going to work for this reason. It needs to be totally reframed. It's not a translation issue. It's a culture issue. And then that's kind of how I got into marketing. And then my advice is don't ever work for a Japanese company because their reputation for overwork is well earned. And I left that and then was kind of like floating around, looking at marketing stuff, telling myself I wanted to go back to translating, fell into marketing for startups, and now almost a decade later, here I am.
Love that for you.
Over to you, Doone.
Ooh, I'm going to go silly.
That's the point.
If you could clone or not clone things about yourself, what would you clone and not clone for future you?
I would, so I'm a doer. Like whenever I do those personality tests or whatever, it's like you're the person who does things. I would clone myself, so I would never have to give instructions on how to do something. I would just be like, clone, go do it. You know how to do it.
And not clone?
Oh, what I would not clone.
She tried to get out of that.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I saw it.
Probably my competitiveness. I would never want to like play a board game against me. I don't think that's fun.
I'd sit back and watch that. We could have a Guinness. When we kicked off this show 3 months ago, we did a quick promo and you introduced yourself as startup PTSD survivor. What's the hardest part of startup life?
When you're younger, it is having the confidence to call out your boss for the bullshit they try to pull over you. Not getting paid super, not getting paid on time, being asked to do more than is what is reasonable for any one employee to do. A lot of it you don't realize isn't normal if, as a younger employee, you haven't worked outside of startups. Things like quitting a job and then they have to replace you with 3 people because you were doing the work of 5. You know, like that's not normal. And I think people do get taken advantage of quite easily in startups, especially because the culture is move fast and break things, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Like all of that leads to predatory people. Maybe some of them were mentioned earlier in this episode, who get away with it and never get held accountable for their actions. And the people who suffer are the employees.
Yeah, I do think move fast and break things is not meant to apply to people.
Oh, but they'll apply it to anything.
You better bring some light to this one now.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
positivity. I'm thinking positive. Okay, you asked me this, so I'll flip it back to you. Who would you want to be in a groupie chat with?
Oh, okay.
Anyone, dead or alive, or both. I mean, we can do multiple.
I think I would do a mix of like, I love Julia Gillard's book that she wrote about women in leadership. Mm-hmm. So I would have so many questions for her, especially because a lot of the advice was like, don't have resting bitch face. And it's like, oh, okay, I see how that's valid, but like...
Book the Botox appointment.
yeah. So like, yeah, like she went through a lot and like love her or hate her for her politics. Like she was the first female prime minister. Like there's so much to ask her about that. And then from like a fun side, I don't know. I feel like I would go to someone who's just totally opposite to me. Like maybe an elite athlete or an Olympian or something like that. That would be sick. They'd have good stories.
For sure.
Gillard's A Podcast of One's Own is brilliant listening.
Okay.
Such great conversation. She is such a smart, precise and incisive woman, and was a great leader for this country at the time. Everyone thinks they know about marketing, journalism. But what's the thing that they say that actually shows they have no fucking idea?
Oh, there's so many.
Top 5.
I would say people who, like, this is also a very startup mindset where it's like, just launch, just push it out, just do it. Doesn't always work in marketing because marketing is your first step. But if you don't have your second step set up, okay, what if this works and people come to us? What are we going to say then? How are we going to deal with these leads? How are we going to convert them? If you don't have that set up and you haven't thought through that, then you're going to have all these people come to you with expectations because you've sold them some sort of message in your marketing, and then you're not going to have a follow-up. They're going to have a really negative first impression of you, and then like the people are more likely to share negative experiences they've had with the brand than a positive one. Think about all your negative, I hate this place, 1-star Google reviews. They do that because they've had a bad experience and they've been let down. So if you're going to launch your marketing and you don't have what comes after marketing thought out, you potentially will absolutely throw away the first impression that you can never make again.
Halfway mark, Doone. How do you think she's doing so far?
Pretty good. I also do think last impressions matter as well, because first impressions, you can fuck it up, but you've got another one on the last one.
I had an old conductor who used to say that. It's like, as long as we all start on the right note and we all finish on the right note, you can do anything else in the middle.
Okay, so we've been talking about marketing. I was watching this video earlier. Have you seen that guy, Luke Reeds? And he was like the farmer last week who published it was like his very first TikTok video, went super viral, but he's talking in his car about like smutty book talk, like chick lit
I feel
books.
like I have seen that.
I mean, chef's kiss, he's amazing. Love it. Love to see that kind of thing on TikTok. So my question is, are you more of a like smutty chick lit type reader,
God.
or are you more like a biography, intellectual?
Neither. I read a lot of fiction, but I read a lot of like thriller, mystery, action-y type fiction. I can never get into smut because my logical brain kicks in too much, and I'm like, office romance, where is HR? This is so inappropriate. Like,
no, where is the no button?
yeah, or like, that's toxic. Oh, you know what I was emo in high school, and so I love going back to emo music and being like, these lyrics are really toxic. Young women should not be romanticizing about these relationships.
I mean, I think this about rap music. I was with my niece last month, and she was like singing these songs, and I was like, the lyrics, like, don't know if I've paid attention to the lyrics this much until a 10-year-old girl is singing at it and giving me a cute face, and I'm like, Jesus.
My four-year-old singing my hummus, my lovely, lovely lady humps was the funniest thing I've ever heard. But now she's an adult woman. It's
but see, that's just silly. But like some of the emo music was like, you know, I'm going to kill myself if you don't come back. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can just imagine you listening to this and going, oh, well, that's going to end up in the federal court.
Well, I would now, but when I was a teenager, I was like, this is the height of romance.
If you could wave the Medica magic wand over the startup sector, what would your first wish be?
Less men, just overall. I'm not a man hater, but like I was scrolling through the news this morning and just every funding announcement was like pictures of teams, but every single team member was a man.
Yep.
Like, not getting rid of them, but
and
like
I'm conscious of it because I publish them and it's suddenly the page is a dick fest and there's nothing I can do about that. I can't change that.
I mean, the other thing is, like, I work with quite a wide variety of clients and startups, and most of the people who hire me are men. And when I get, like, a woman client, it's just so nice. Like, there's a sense of camaraderie and, like, it's different, but it's so rare. I just want more of that.
How do you think we change that?
Let's
do a mind boggler.
I really agree with what you said about, like, we have to go make our own spaces. So one thing that people say about me all the time is like once they've met me and they've heard me speak, they can hear everything I write in my voice because I have a specific way of speaking, my idiolect, which we spoke about in a previous episode. But if you show up as yourself in the truest sense of like, I'm not the most professional person, like I don't speak using big languages and jargon a lot, and if that's what I show you on LinkedIn and then you meet me in real life and it's the same thing, then I'm going to attract people who want that, and I'm going to make myself a little bubble that is really nice for me as an individual, but it's also going to attract people who like that, and if we all like the same thing, we're probably all similar, and it's just going to be a nicer place to be.
Penultimate question. We're throwing you an absolutely fuck off farewell party.
Okay.
And we're getting 3 live bands you really want to see in front of you. Who are they?
Porter Robinson, Chili Beans, and the third one's hard. Just to make other people jealous, Lady Gaga.
Ooh, okay.
Wow, you had those really lined up.
Yep.
They were like really just like ready to roll.
I think Lady Gaga might go beyond the pinstripe budget, but we can definitely get Porter Robinson in, so it'll be good. Doone, bring it home. Final question.
Oh, final question. You've got to delete some social media apps. What's number one? What do you hate?
Okay, so I no longer use Facebook. I went through my Instagram and I unfollowed everything that was a brand or was trying to sell to me, and it immediately became a much nicer place to be. I deleted Twitter from my phone. I still have an account, but I don't log in.
I deleted Twitter, my account.
Yeah, I just...
20,000 followers. It's a Nazi porn bar.
As much as I post on it, the next one to go would probably be LinkedIn.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to delete you from this show now.
Savage.
It's been lovely. It's been fun. I've loved having you by my side for the last 3 months, Kayla. And I'm going to just do the out so that I don't cry. Doone, thank you so much for coming in and helping out with this. Great to have you as a guest. Great to have you as a co-host. Of course, Startup 360 is a Pinstripe Media production produced and edited by the fabulous Matt Jackson. Thanks to Ella Walsh, to James Vass and Vanta for their support. A huge thank you to Kayla Medica. I hope we do have you on the couch one day as a billionaire and we can ask for all of your tips after you get shit done. But you can watch all previous 12 episodes with Kayla and our wonderful people who've been on the show. As I said, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. AJ will be in this chair, and I'll return with Magella Campbell from Fishburners as my co-host a little later in May. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Click that subscribe button. And don't forget to read Startup Daily for all your ANZ tech news for free. Love you a long time. See you, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.